Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. I'm Luke Janesco, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for all your feedback on the last video, even though we did run into a bit of an issue with some censorship stuff. We have been acquitted of all charges. But seriously, let's keep pushing those boundaries, Splatter fam, and see what kind of trouble we can get into this time around with some home invasion films. The home invasion subgenre hits a little bit different than some of the other subgenres just because it taps into that unnerving feeling, just like a lot of supernatural films do. You know, you're sitting in bed at night, you hear a noise, you instantly get freaked out. That's where I put the home invasion subgenre for me. It just hits at a different level. And when we're talking home invasion films, we gotta talk The Strangers. It's always in the conversation, although I did leave it out of this conversation just because we talked about it so much on the channel. It is one of my favorite films. I just didn't want to retread. I wanted to give the spot to something we haven't talked about and kind of give my thoughts and opinions on that instead. So I do love The Strangers. It's just not on this list. But if you did check out the last list I did on disturbing Japanese films, I went into a bit of a spoiler alert as well as kind of going throughout the entire film, put a little bit of a fun spin on it. I did do it here again, just want to see how you guys are feeling about it. The last list kind of got taken down for a little bit, so lost some momentum, so I want to see if this is going to reach a wider audience, just to get some thoughts and put it out there that this is spoiler heavy, so if you haven't seen some of these films and you do want to see them and don't want to be spoiled, maybe put a pause or jump to the next film that you have seen. But let's hop into this list, so press pause, go lock your door, make sure no one sneaks in while you're watching this video and hog ties you. I'd feel horrible about it, unless you're into that kind of thing, but let's get into it. Roping us into that number 5 spot, Angst. A killer is released from prison and breaks into a remote home to kill a woman, her handicapped son, and her pretty daughter. If you've seen Angst, you know this isn't strictly a home invasion story, but a big portion of the film does deal with that dynamic. Seeing this through the lens of our nameless serial killer puts a different spin on what we usually see from these types of films, which is why I had to put this one on the list. The film has acted as an inspiration for a lot of modern filmmakers. Gaspar Noé has noted his style is very heavily inspired from this film, and even Chris Nash had cited Angst when he was discussing In a Violent Nature. The erratic feel this film does give its viewers hits a nerve unlike a lot of other home invasion films on this list. Theon Greyjoy is taking a stroll down the street looking rather emaciated. Good lord, someone get this dude some sun and a protein shake. After knocking on the door, he double taps Granny and makes a quick getaway. This is why I never answer the door. I don't need a new roof, I'm busy Sunday morning, just get off my porch. Going through his checkered past, we find out our killer's childhood would have made Jack Torrance look like Father of the Year. Any boy? With no real motive for committing the crimes other than citing the voices in his head, we catch up with our killer on his release day. Free and on the hunt like the dire wolf he is, Theon stops at a coffee shop to scope out some of the, young talent. Unable to do killing on an empty stomach, Theon orders the only acceptable meal after you've been locked in prison for 10 years. A giant fucking sausage. If I'm fresh out of the pokey, I'm not eating anything phallic shaped for at least 365 days. Mick Jagger in the black blazer gets cold feet, and after the patrons watch him deep throat that glizzy, he decides to hop into a cab. After a failed attempt at turning the cab driver into Arnold Schwarzenegger from Total Recall, he breaks into a seemingly vacant house. Being a victim of his own lazy detective work, our killer realizes he overlooked Hot Wheels, who may have some serious daddy issues of his own. Hiding out only momentarily, the mom and daughter arrive home, prompting our killer to hogtie the daughter and duke it out with the mom in a scene that would give Roddy Piper and Keith David a run for their money. Also, does the mom look a lot like Robert Prosky from Gremlins 2?
That's right. It's really scary.
The actual attack that takes place here is absolutely haunting in the approach just because of that erratic feel it has. As we are inside the mind of our killer and getting that inner monologue, instead of having that mystery of the unknown, we already know the outcome and are instead just really anticipating that morbid outcome for our victims. It gets my heart racing every time with those close-ups and the handheld nature of the entire sequence. You almost feel like you're an accomplice as you watch our killer dispatch each person in the home. After a drawn-out cat and mouse game with the daughter, the Mick Jagger wannabe paints it red instead of black in the goriest scene in the film when he goes all Nosferatu on her. Deciding to take a road trip with the three bodies, our killer sets out on a family vacation. But we realize being in and out of prison all your life, he probably doesn't have a license to drive. Instantly rear-ending another car and being attacked by a group of Georgies, where's Pennywise when you need him? Our killer finds himself back at the coffee shop from the beginning. Satisfying his oral fixation, the police show up inquiring about the car accident, prompting our killer to order the family special as he unveils the three bodies in the trunk and thinks about the sausage party on the horizon. When we look at the rest of the films on this list and a lot of other just home invasion films in general, we don't really get that introspective look at our invaders. When that question is posed in The Strangers, the answer is because you were home, which is haunting in its own right. But Angst differentiates itself from that by making us understand our killer's intentions and amplifying that tension because we know his objective is just to kill, and we're just a nervous wreck waiting for him to inflict that punishment on his victims. Even farther, we get that idea that nothing is going to satisfy his appetite, so there is no bargain or hope for an ending where those victims are actually going to escape with their lives. It just seems completely hopeless, and we already know that dynamic going into it because we are so in that serial killer's head. Adding that this is based on true events, this one can really make you paranoid when you watch it. This one isn't streaming, unfortunately, right now, but there are several different Blu-ray releases which I would highly recommend picking this up so you can check it out. Taking the number 4 spot, The Collector. Desperate to repay his debt to his ex-wife, an ex-con plots a heist at his new employer's country home, unaware that a second criminal has also targeted the property and rigged it with a series of deadly traps. I remember first seeing the trailer for this one on TV and it immediately caught my attention. I liked the presentation of our main character Arkin breaking into a house and someone was already inside, and the trailer really brought that eeriness I was hoping the actual film itself was going to evoke. A lot of films at the time were using that 3D gimmick, which of course bled into horror, and I thought, especially at the time and looking back on it now, rather than helping those films and becoming a fun novelty, it really hurt the rewatchability. So around this time, I was really on board with films that weren't going that route, and having that element of this guy setting up traps, implementing a bit of torture, and a design of what looked like could be the next horror icon, I got so excited about this film's release. Giving off some major creep vibes, we have a handyman, Arkin, who is an off-brand Jeremy Renner with a dash of Breckin Meyer as he watches the lady of the house get ready. Turning that creeper volume up to 100, he joins the young daughter for some tea before Daddy Dearest breaks up the party. Having a cigarette, we meet the older daughter. Boy, she looks familiar. Wait, is Hulk Hogan the Collector? He's become a bad guy more than once. Making him less of a creep, only slightly, we find out Arkin has a family of his own and needs until midnight to grab a jewel from the family safe. Oh great, a timestamp. Nothing can go wrong here, right? Breaking into the family home, Arkin cosplays as Tom Green from Stealing Harvard.
I want to be Kyle. I knew this guy at camp. His name was Kyle. He was maybe 13. He got 2 girls pregnant.
But just as he's about to give the safe a prostate exam, he's interrupted. Arkin has a playdate with another uninvited guest, which turns out to be this Dom Daddy, who apparently just escaped out of Zed's basement. Running into the patriarch of the family, Arkin hides as the dad falls into a trap that would make Jigsaw eager for a little solo play.
I want to play a game.
Arkin tries to escape, but learns the hard way that Dom Daddy likes to set up traps with a little emo pizzazz by using razor blades on the windows. Heading down to the basement for a little couples counseling session, Arkin extracts the combination from the husband. Now get your ass out of there, Hawkeye. Arkin collects his prize, but when he hears a noise from the closet, he opens up Pandora's box. Instead of unleashing evil, a bloody dude that looks a lot like Michael McKean pops out. Finding out Dom Daddy likes to collect people, Arkin realizes he better make this place a memory quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Whose car are we gonna take?
On his way out, Arkin finds himself in a serious game of the floor is lava, before realizing curiosity really did kill the cat when this ferocious feline gets divided in two. Checking in on our happy couple, it looks like the husband is wearing his heart on his sleeve, literally now that his insides have found their way outside. When the wife tries to escape, she finds out Dom Daddy does not play when it comes to an early release, as he shanks her when she reaches the top of the stairs. The older daughter and her boyfriend finally make it back home, and this emo Dr. Decker is about to watch a little Nightbreed, but the climax is a little premature when the couple chooses violence over voyeurism. Finally making an escape, Arkin is in the free and clear. Oh fuck, of course, the little girl shows up. The dynamic duo tries to take on this murdered-out maniac, but Arkin eventually finds himself in the hot seats as the collector turns him into a marionette. Breaking free from this puppet master, Arkin and Hannah pull the wool over the eyes of this low-budget button face when they prove to be a couple of lords of illusion, allowing them to get out of the house. After finding out the collector is more of an exterminator, Arkin's ambulance ride takes a dark turn when this nightmare turns into a love story as the collector makes sure Arkin won't be the one that got away. This one has so many beats that will just freak you out, and the addition of the traps and torture really take the concept and really add that demented twist to your basic home invasion story. One of the interesting tidbits of The Collector was that it was initially pitched as a prequel to the Saw franchise and a character lore for John Kramer, which, looking at the presentation here, it absolutely fits. But I'm glad that this film took on an identity of its own, which isn't tied down to a franchise. But it could have been interesting to see if this would have breathed new life into the franchise, since Saw was really running on fumes of the success of its other installments at the time. The Collector has this supernatural element to him, which I don't know if it was intentional or not, but when you're going through the house and these traps keep appearing as Arkin is going through the house trying to get out, it really gives that added dynamic you don't get with a lot of other home invasion flicks. Now, full disclosure here, I did rewatch this one late at night while taking a gummy, and man, I got to the part where Arkin got back down to the basement the second time and really did freak myself out. I kept thinking I was hearing things, I had to go check the locks on my doors, so I did have to turn this one off and finish it the next day. This one does hold up on so many different levels, so fingers crossed we get that third installment. Right now, this one is on Tubi, it's on Fandango at home, Plex, and another handful of other streaming services, so you can check this one out for free. I highly recommend it, but maybe wait till daytime and stay sober. Coming in at the number 3 spot, Kidnapped. On the day they move into a new house, a Madrid couple and their daughter become the targets of a brutal home invasion by a trio of masked criminals. Anytime we're talking home invasion films, I always have to bring this one up just because of how seemingly brutal this film portrays how home invasion would actually feel. This one is one of those films that is so steeped in realism, it makes you uneasy within the first 15 minutes because of how jarring some of the pacing is when we get into the actual home invasion itself. Now, character development-wise, there isn't really anything too in-depth here, but just really defining that family element multiplies the terror, at least in my eyes, because it is so general and basic, it really does give off that feel that it could happen to you. Setting the tone for the film, we open up with this dude with a sack over his head. But no, this isn't our pumpkin boy in the orange onesie. He forgets to look both ways as a passing car makes him a hood ornament. Damn. I don't know how I was expecting this film to open, but they made this one count. Meeting a family that just moved into their new home, we get that classic dynamic of mother-daughter fight between Martha and Isa, while Daddy Jamie directs the movers like he's the Führer in 1930s Germany. As everyone gets ready to go out for the night, their plans are derailed as 3 masked men show up. Unfortunately for this family, these aren't the wet bandits.
Harry, it's our calling card. All the great ones leave their mark.
Stealing all their bank information, our masked trio is looking for some easy money like John Connor and his ginger buddy.
Easy money. Come on.
Holding the mom and daughter hostage, one of the intruders takes the dad on a joyride to the bank. Then we get the most awkward car ride I've ever been a part of. Except for the time my best friend's mom had to give me a ride home from Chuck E. Cheese when I pissed my pants at his 7th birthday party. What? TMI. Back at the house, things become even more unhinged as Issa's friend shows up and instantly starts crying like he's Tobey Maguire watching Uncle Ben bleed out on a New York street. Looking to lighten the load on the family bank account, our intruder makes Jamie withdraw a hefty sum as they wait in the car until midnight to make a repeat transaction. Mom and daughter are having family movie night, but forgetting to bring the jolly time, our other intruder brings a snack of his own. Getting more paranoid, our intruder permanently retires a police officer after a routine check, causing a bit of tension between the two intruders at the house. On the way home, Dad Jamie takes a little detour when he crashes the car with him and the other intruder inside. Ah, the dangers of carpooling. After escaping, Issa gives this dirty bastard what's coming to him when she pops his head like a cherry tomato. This is oh so gratifying. As Dad makes it back home, he runs into the last intruder who makes a getaway as he's secured the bag in more ways than one. The family gets ready to call it a night, but our intruder from the bank returns as he denies the family's loan to see the sun come up. The conclusion to this film always catches me off guard no matter how many times I watch it. I love that a lot of the mayhem is given to us in the last remaining minutes because we really get roped into this false sense of security, only to have that bastard show back up and take out the whole family in so many different brutal ways that we're consuming within just a matter of just seconds. The director, Miguel Angel Vivas, created this film only using 12 continuous shots, so we don't really have a lot of cutaways or fancy camera work that allows our brain to remind us that this is just a film. Being in those continuous shots and having those extreme close-ups gives us that feeling that we are right there while it's happening, making us feel almost claustrophobic when you have so many family intruders on screen. It feels like all these bodies are just filling the screen, coming in and out, really catching you off guard. Seeing so much going on, things happening out of frame, and then almost playing catch up after something has happened creates that sense of unease as it pulls your attention in so many different directions. Now, there is some SA in here as well, so I wanted people to be warned if you're going in cold. It is a very visceral scene, even though it isn't a close-up shot. They really depend more so on the audio. You know what's going on. It is very disturbing because that audio is amplified in your brain. So I just wanted to warn you before you give this one a watch. This is a Spanish film, and it is streaming right now on Plex. And it does have the subtitles, which I highly recommend. It is also on Shudder and has a very terrible English dub. I tried to watch that one just to see what it was like. It is very bad. It is distracting. So I would stay away from that one. If you're going to watch this, check this one out on Plex. Bringing home the number 2 spot, You're Next. When the Davidson family comes under attack during their wedding anniversary getaway, the gang of mysterious killers soon learns that one of the victims harbors a secret talent for fighting back. I honestly forgot how much I love this film. I've revisited it casually over the last decade, but I don't think I've given it a serious rewatch since my first initial viewing. This was a film that always sticks out in my brain as great marketing. There was a lot of hype around this film and how scary it was, and the reaction it had gotten at festivals. When I look back on this film, I think the trailer was so well done because it is always ingrained in my brain. Seeing those killers in animal masks chasing the family around the house, it made it feel like this film was going to be a much more fast-paced version of The Strangers. It gives us a lot in terms of flavor when it comes to these home invasion films, and brings in some slasher elements just like The Collector was able to do. We already start off a little raunchy, but if you're a bit of a prude, not to worry, this two-pump chump is ready to hit the showers, reminding us this is a horror movie. The victim of that underwhelming hot dogging walks around showing off her sweater yams. You know, I like her. She seems smart. I can't wait to find out her backstory. Oh, no wait, she's dead. It doesn't take Quickshot too long to join her, taking a machete straight to the dome. Should have had another one in the chamber, my guy. Now we meet an entirely new couple. Wait, is that Rob Moran? What's he doing in a horror movie?
You people are horrible! Horrible!
Very disappointed, gentlemen.
Setting in for a family get-together, Barbara Crampton hears a noise upstairs, but it ain't Crawford Tillinghast in the resonator. Finding nothing, this Scream Queen must have been in one too many H.P. Lovecraft stories because, oh shit, never mind, we've got Lamb Chop looking at her, a little more grimacing than usual. We meet the whole family and are introduced to some of the most annoying bastards we've ever seen in a horror film. Boy, the slaughter we're in for is going to be fun. Sitting down for dinner, we find out how fucked up this family dynamic really is. I felt cozier having dinner with Toni Collette.
What?
As we are waist deep in our second course of generational trauma, our avant-garde wannabe director gets an extreme close-up of an arrow right to the head as all hell breaks loose when more arrows come raining in like it's goddamn Game of Thrones. The family tries to regroup as Amy decides to go for a run, but loses her head when our killers create a game of demented limbo. Boy, she went down like she just took the clothesline from hell from JBL.
JBL, look out! Oh, there it is!
Can I just say how much I love this sequence? It really encapsulates the personality this film has. The build up to her running out in slow motion gives this great comedic build to the ultra violence we get in just moments. It really mixes your emotions and consistently makes you tense, not knowing if you're going to be laughing one second or grossed out the next. So you're always tense going into the next scene because it has such a handle on what this film wants to be, and I think you point to this sequence right here to say this is the tone you're looking at for your next. Alone in her room, Mom gets carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey as Kelly sprints out of the house. Little does she know, Lamb Chop is waiting at the neighbors to practice his backswing while Larry Fessenden DJs. Giving new meaning to sibling rivalry, we find out Felix is the one that hired the White family to trim his family tree. Aaron goes full-on Rambo and starts building traps for our whacked-out woodland creatures. Apparently, being John Rambo was her special unlocked skill. I mean, it beats being a filmmaker. Don't worry, Tariq, you still get to create a wonderful modern horror trilogy with an underwhelming third installment. Channeling her inner Sally Hardesty, Erin throws herself right out the window, making a quick escape. Oh shit, that's glass. Should have studied Sally's form, Erin. After a frolic in the woods, Lamb Chop gets Kevin McAllister with the old nail in the board trick. Someone's gonna need a tetanus shot. Erin gets some glamour shots as Woofy takes a machete to the dome when she goes all Robin Williams from 1 Hour Photo while she dishes out some mayhem.
Now, put his thing in your mouth.
Easy there, Robin. I don't need another 7-day ban.
Don't drop the soap. Don't drop the soap.
Michael, please.
Hungry for some brain food, Erin uses a blender to make some synapses smoothies when Felix gets in her way. Not playing favorites, Erin asks Z for her insight as well in an ultra-violent meeting of the minds. Getting caught being a chatty Cathy, Crispin talks his way into joining the Davison family vacation in hell, courtesy of Erin. Your Next just brings this brutality from the very start with these in-depth setups and kills. It gets so much mileage out of the basic concepts and makes good on delivering a gore fest. Like I said, I never gave this one a undivided rewatch, but whenever I did pop this bad boy on, I always made sure to make it through that dinner scene because that is brutality done absolutely right. The gore dished out by our killers hits on a very basic level of horror, but when you find out the brothers are behind the deaths of their own family, man, that just gets you to another level of anger that makes you want to invest on wanting to see them get their asses handed to them. Your Next manages to bring that gore and horror, but some fun campiness that if this film was released in the 80s, it would fit right in and feel like an all-time classic. I see this one popping up more and more on lists, which absolutely warms my heart because the writing from Simon Barrett is just so smart. He creates these characters that you don't like for the most part, and then we have this one badass female lead that just wants to kill our killers. And then when it comes to home invasion films, I think this one has a lot more texture than some of the other films that we do see dealing with home invasions. You can check this one out on Peacock right now. Scooping up that #1 spot, Inside. A woman must protect her unborn child from the scissor-wielding maniac tormenting her after the death of her husband. This one was a fresh watch for me. It hadn't been on my list for a very long time, and this just gave me a reason to check that box and give it a watch. And good gosh, this is one I won't be forgetting anytime soon. Knowing this one was talked about with other French extremity films like High Tension and Martyrs, I knew this one would be on the list, but it became clear within the first 30 minutes of this film, this was easily taking that #1 spot. 4 months after a car crash that killed her husband, Sarah spends her Christmas Eve at home instead of away in a manger as she prepares to give birth on Christmas Day. Reminiscing in her pseudo-darkroom, Sarah's husband shows up in a scene that could give Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore a run for their money. Oh damn, yeah, this is a horror film. After a chilling knock on the door, we find out this stranger isn't looking for Tamra. Instead, she wants Sarah to open the fucking door. Placing a call to the police, Sarah tries to stress the negative effects of secondhand smoke, but this stranger's silhouette treats the window like it's the Italian stallion and she's Clubber Lang. Developing some pics in her darkroom, Sarah realizes this lady has been following her around, hanging out in the background like she's goddamn Slender Man. After some great detective work from our local authorities, thank you for your service, Sarah calls it a night. Her good night's sleep is interrupted when the stranger starts to carve Sarah up like a Christmas ham. Retreating to the bathroom, not for a number 1 or 2, Sarah better get the 3 wise men on speed dial because that baby is coming.
Speaking of coming, I want to...
Sarah's editor, Jean-Pierre, forgets that there are no boys allowed when he unexpectedly shows up to this girl's night. Sarah accidentally gives her own mother a homemade tracheotomy, and our stranger does more than roast Jean-Pierre's chestnuts. This white Christmas turns red when our stranger lets the bodies hit the floor after a group of police show up to do a welfare check on our pregnant protagonist. When our stranger turns off the power, the remaining cop and his compadre try to shed some light on this silent night, deadly night, but these naughty boys are only getting coal for Christmas. Sarah and our stranger battle it out in some Christmas Eve combat that would make Santa Claus and Krampus want to step up their game. Then Sarah overcooks the stranger's face like it's the Griswold's Christmas turkey. Illuminating the situation, we find out our stranger isn't really a stranger and lost her own baby in the car crash at the beginning of the film. Then our crazed cop, yeah, this guy's still alive, hits Sarah in the stomach, prompting this maniac midwife to deliver Sarah's baby, giving her a C-section with a pair of scissors in true MacGyver fashion. Very impressive. Now let's see what she can do with a paperclip and shoestring. Sarah's corpse lays on the stairs in a puddle of gore as our stranger rocks the newborn in this post-mortem tale. This film feels like if we threw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and a Mother Goose Tale into a blender, what would come out would be Inside. From the very start of this film, seeing that car crash and the reveal that Sarah is pregnant already put me on a high alert just because of the trauma that we're actually seeing unfold within the first minute of the film. One of the techniques the film uses is showing how vulnerable the unborn baby is during the attacks. While the effect is extremely dated, it kind of looks like one of those dancing baby screensavers from the mid-90s. I'm not even sure if it worked for the time, but it does amplify the terror when Sarah is going through this whole ordeal. I have to praise the makeup effect here as well. When our intruder gets burnt at the end of the film, she really does lose a lot of that human recognition. It almost feels like we're dealing with something otherworldly in a sense. And when we look at the film as a whole, consistently through that tone, there's just a sense of hopelessness that we feel non-stop. There's never a point in this film that the audience feels at ease. And when we talk about ending shots that are just absolutely haunting, we have to talk about Inside. That ending shot of our intruder in the rocking chair with the newborn baby. It's such a perfectly composed shot. It's absolutely beautiful, but haunting at the same time. That's what I love about horror films, when a director can take some haunting imagery and just make it absolutely beautiful so you feel this mixture of emotions, and that's what Inside really is. This one is on Tubi right now. We are talking about the 2007 French version. There is a more updated remake. I did not see that one just yet, but it is actually directed by the director from our number 3 pick here. So I want to check that one out. It has a very low rating, so I'm not expecting too much. But if you're going to check one out, check out Inside from 2007. What a wild journey this list took me on. I can honestly say each film on this list offers something completely different in the horror realm. Each one makes you scared in a different way, and I loved how many different takes there are when it comes to this subgenre of just home invasion films. So thanks for going on this ride with me, Splatter fam, and if you've just stumbled upon the channel, please give us a like, subscribe, and share if you think we've earned it. We hope that you stick around and check out some more content. We always have so many different reviews going up, as well as these lists, and we're also trying a couple of different things, so we hope to see you around here. But until next time, I'm Luke Ginesco, and stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live, 'cause Splattercast kick it every day they live.